the timing of droning, just like with taking photos, you can't always control, if someone's like, get you on the roof, or it used to be like, man, I got to get up there and take photos. Um, but sometimes it'd be high noon and be terrible time to get photos because you couldn't see the definition. It's just, you know, timing is huge. But let's talk about droning at night. And I think it's so important. And you showed me that one that you did at night, and it was just, man, it just made a huge difference from doing it during the day. Everything is
Yep.
so much cooler, and it just really pops when you're having heat bleed or cold air bleed. It's just
Yep.
incredible. So talk to me about that. And how do you do
Yeah.
that? Is it safe? How do you even, you were showing me a website to even get clearance. How I didn't even know you had to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of regulatory issues you need to make sure you're complying with when you are integrating drones into it. So anyone and everyone who uses drones who are listening to this podcast, they're going to need to have a commercial pilot's license. Okay. There's no way to avoid it. It's required. So good news is it's really important information. It really is. And it doesn't take that long to do. All right. I decided I was going to be a drone pilot on a Monday, and I became a drone pilot on a Thursday. I tested out. Okay. It's not that challenging, but it is going to require some work. Now, as far as the actual regulatory information, you're going to learn all that information when you are going through your training. Check out the FAA's Part 107. That's the actual guideline that really talks about everything that encompasses this sort of industry. But you are able to fly at night, but you have to have certain requirements. You have to have a 3 statute mile beacon on there so the aircraft can see what you have going on. A lot of the smaller drones don't have that, so it requires additional module to attach to it. Not a big deal. Just make sure you do it right. You're gonna have to get clearance with the FAA on flying in certain areas. But Cam, you were there. How hard was that?
Dude, that was so cool. It was so easy.
It was cool, right? Like, it's not a big
Yeah.
deal. It really isn't. But you need to go through those steps to make sure that you're flying safely and legally, because we are in commercial airspace, and the risks are astronomical, right? So drones can and have hit fixed wing aircraft and helicopters that have been flying. And fortunately, we haven't had any deaths yet, but like there have been some very serious things that have happened so far. So a big portion of the test is just recognizing that, hey, you are sharing airspace with these pilots, and your drone can kill people, and you need to be fully aware of that. So that's a big part of it, is just making sure you have those sort of understanding and awareness. And there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm a huge fan of the education platform called YouTube. It teaches you a lot. That's totally viable. Obviously, I would be very remiss to not mention that we have a Part 107 class here at Francis Tuttle, right? Obviously, there's a lot of other great programs as well. I don't think you need to spend money to do it, but if you want to, you're welcome to do so. But it's not that challenging, but everyone is going to have a pilot's license. That's how it is. The justification for that is if you are doing it for anything that resembles commercial intent, you need a pilot's license. So if you post something on YouTube that you generated off your drone, there's a potential of that being monetized, which means it does have commercial intent, right? So unless you are just flying it for fun, which if you're in this chat, you're probably using these drones to generate revenue, that it requires a commercial pilot's license. All right. So now to go back to your original question on nighttime flying, yeah, it's cool. I'm with you, man. It's cool, right? So it makes some really, really great shots. So anytime you're doing low exposure sort of captures, that means your shutter is open a lot wider, the shutter is open longer, which means you have a long exposure time, which does create some really cool imagery. So we flew that the dead of night, and the image we produced, it's really, really cool. I wish I could share it on here. I know you have a picture of it somewhere, but it's pretty wild. But the reason why we flew at night was for the thermal, right? So we wanted to make sure that we could catch the thermal and showing the change in how much heat loss was happening on that school. And I mean, you could see it clear as day. Cam, like, am I wrong there? Dude. Like, it was very obvious.
It's very impactful. I'd say you walk into a board meeting where they're deciding what contractor they're going to be picking to do their $3 million
Mhm.
roofing project, and what materials you're going to be utilizing, or which ones they're going to be picking, and to be able to illustrate with a report with imagery like that,
Yep.
and all those data points, dude. If no one
It's
else
cool.
in the room is doing that, they
It
may
makes sense.
more than yeah.
It does make sense. And when you do 3D modeling like what we showed you, that's another huge value that you can add in that bidding process. Do a 3D model, put the work into it, get a high resolution, because the 3D models, like, sure, you can use other softwares to get measurements, but if you want something that really impresses somebody and shows that you really care about this specific contract and how you are going to provide as much value as possible, generate a 3D model, present it to them, make sure it looks phenomenal. And we can also, this is something pretty cool. I've partnered with a production studio here in Oklahoma City, and they actually will put animations into your models. That's pretty
Wow,
wild, right? So like if you want
dude.
to have like bulldozers moving, or showing people working on the roof, you could actually do that and really just show that, hey, we put a lot of work into this. And that's what the one of the roofing companies we're working with here in Oklahoma City area is. They're using it in all their bidding processes. They're generating full 3D models in the bidding process, so they have a higher chance of winning those contracts. And
Yeah, it makes sense. And then
it
also too,
does.
you're able to illustrate quite literally, like you said, with
Mhm.
animation, with
Yeah.
that, like, hey, insurance, or hey, whoever you're selling this to,
Mhm.
this is how complex the scope of work is going to be. When you're
Yep.
looking at sometimes just an exactimate, flat, um, measurements or drawing, or even their 3 dimensions, it doesn't give you quite the scope,
Mhm.
um, from when you see a real video and image, 3D image. It's just, and that you can manipulate that,
Yep.
and it's just really cool,
It is.
to see in
And
real time.
and
And
you
I
can do a
think
lot
it's
of things with it as well for marketing. Like you can do a lot of hyperlapsing where this like the toy soldier moving around on the roofs. You can show it being torn off and put it back on with all the people moving around on it. Like you could do that with a drone. I mean, there's no reason why. If you already have the equipment, you can use a lot for marketing. Um, and then yeah, I mean that's a great way of doing it. And then also progress pictures. That's also huge, especially if you
Mhm.
are doing like a longer term scale. Don't just go in those board meetings or have those conversations and say, oh, things going well. You can be like, hey, let me show you everything we're doing and all the work being put in and yada yada yada. And you can use that in the sales process as well, of being like, hey, this was a project we did beforehand. This is what it looked like after. Like, let's show a before and after photos
Yeah.
where that's not just like photos, but like a fully manipulable 3D model showcasing what you are going to do for them. And just a picture and a model is worth 1,000 words. So it's
It
huge. I
is.
think I think the sales, the marketing aspect is grossly underused, and I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think that's really where a lot of this is going to, and not just pictures and videos. Like there's so much more you can do with these things. So it's just a start. Good job if you are doing videos and pictures, but like we need to have more conversations so we can integrate more stuff.
Yeah, and I can't wait to, link back up with you down there in Oklahoma City, and then I'm sure we're gonna have multiple field trips where you and I are getting out on,
Oh
big
yeah.
projects. I'm lining some of that up right now, just because I want to really show people what an impact this technology, and how Blue Falcon Aerial is making an impact within our industry, and partnering up with other brands and technologies that we love and trust. I just think it's so cool, and that you're someone I care about and that I trust and are a source of truth. Man, that's just special to me, and I can't wait to just provide some more data, some more proof in the pudding, so it just draws more people to the technology, to the application, to weaving it into their SOPs with everything they do. And you touched on earlier, when communicating, that's one of the biggest things with any business, but especially when you're talking about big commercial projects. There's so many people that need to be in the know, from everyone on the board,
Mhm.
from your project managers, from the insurance carrier, their adjusters, desk adjusters, field adjusters. So much is going on, and good news, no news, bad news. At least you're communicating. But if you can, like you said, and now with other technologies, I'm sure you're talking with these folks, they have real time access to these different SaaS platforms that they
Mhm.
want to see a real time what's going on in my project. Well, look, they just uploaded a video of the flyby, and they showed material being delivered. They've got
Mhm.
you can now show and prove to the insurance carrier, look, I've got 3 safeties on this project and you need to be paying up for it. We've got drone guys. That's another line item. A person out there for
Yeah.
safety that's just flying a drone. That should be a line item, and you can add that in there. Is on these gigantic projects. If you can't tell me that having a drone flying almost continuously is not the safest thing in the world and can reduce so many safety factors as well as
Mhm.
productivity factors. Uh, are there any thefts? Is there any waste of material? Keeping the site clean, safe,
Mhm.
especially schools, hospitals. There's so many things, so many people you need to make happy, and having all the information right there and in a way that it just blows their mind, man, you will just look like the biggest professional and they'll want to keep coming back to you time and time again. So, man,
Yeah.
too cool.